Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. I am really looking forward to our topic for today. We're going to be talking about campaigns, and I happen to know a lot about this because I have run event campaigns, campaigns for launching a new product, so I feel like I have a lot of information to share with you guys. And I think just to get this started, I think when it comes to campaigning, it seems like such a general word and it can be applied to launching a new product, an event, trying to sway public opinion, creating a sale. I mean, a campaign just means some collected effort, organized, generally unpaid launch for your brand. So I think because of this, people kind of group it into just general marketing and they don't know how to formally plan out um, a strategic communications plan. So this is something that I learned. All right, so there's four main prongs, and each of those are divided into one or two subsections, okay? Try to keep this as simple as possible. So the first thing is research. Might seem expected, but a lot of people glaze over this area. In a formal campaign, you're going to want to conduct secondary and primary research, meaning you need to find some actual credible information online on your target audience, as well as creating a survey. SurveyMonkey is pretty easy, Qualtrics. You could also conduct a focus group, but if you try to skip over research, I can't tell you how many campaigns we've studied that just bombed because they didn't understand their audience. I'll give you an example right now. One of, I think, the best brand recovery campaigns that I have seen in the last 10 years. Domino's in recent years has drastically improved their reputation, I think, definitely in part due to their effective campaigning efforts. But probably 10 years ago, Domino's had a reputation of being crappy pizza. The crust tastes like cardboard, etc. Not a lot of flavor. So they launched this campaign. I forget if it was like a name for it, but I think the biggest thing that they created with this campaign was like a 10-minute documentary style video where they showed the whole process of the company reforming their recipe and talking to customers and being proactive about getting that feedback. So obviously, they're basing some of their reasoning off of tweets and Facebook posts because with this new digital age, it's so easy for customers to be in contact with their brands. And I think it got to the point where Domino's couldn't really ignore the overwhelming unhappiness with their product. But with this information, they collected focus groups of actual customers, actual people, and they asked them what specifically they didn't like about their product, what they could change. And they took this combination of tweet feedback, focus group feedback to create the steps of how they were going to reform and how they were going to get their word out that Domino's Pizza, they have this new recipe, they're switching their whole game plan, etc. So what I thought was cool is they actually infused this research component into the campaign itself. And without that research, the whole campaign would have been pointless because they don't really know what they need to reform or what's going to change. Obviously, before you launch a product, you want to know who your audience is. You want to have an idea of what they're willing to pay. You want to understand where they are. You just want to do the whole marketing customer analysis. And this applies to both goods and services. Everybody has customers. So even if you're a digital marketer, you're going to want to be doing research on what are the stumbling blocks of digital marketers, how can I find them, what are the channels that they actively communicate through. These are questions that you're going to want to be asking yourself. So, like I said, first component is going to be background, and this includes primary and secondary. Okay, so our second component of research is situation analysis. This is formally a 2-paragraph type up. And the first paragraph is going to be a statement of the current situation and a description of the challenge or opportunity based on your research. So again, this is why the research is key. Typically, when we're talking about a campaign, in the political sense, if you're trying to change or sway public opinion, it can be seen as more of solving a problem. But every customer has a problem. And even if the campaign is launching a new product, you're solving a problem and you want to understand what that problem is, that kind of has to do with the research. So I'm going to include in here, in a more typical, I guess, like business model, launching a product, something similar, could be considered. The second paragraph identifies potential difficulties that could impede success. Okay, so the third one might be the most obvious, is just a statement of the core problem or opportunity. It's just a one-sentence statement of the main difficulty or prospect, including likely consequences if not resolved or realized. The goal is a one-sentence statement of the overall result needed to solve the problem or to seize the opportunity. And the goal doesn't have to be quantified. It seems simple to just write out a sentence, but it actually can be so directional, because I think a lot of times campaigns are launched without really knowing what the key goal is, because your actions have to be congruent with what your goal is. Your goal might be to get more visibility. And if that's the case, you might be less concerned about how much money you make. In an earlier lab, I noted brand campaign that I saw. It was like a swimsuit company, and they had an offer that everybody who repost their picture that likes their Instagram account gets a free swimsuit. Obviously, they're not really making money off of this, but that wasn't the goal of the campaign. The goal was visibility, brand awareness. These are things that you want to make sure are clearly stated and everybody who's involved with the campaign is on the same page. Okay, the next part of this is looking at objectives. So an objective is a numbered or bulleted statement of specific results that will lead to the achievement of your goal. Okay, I just wrote this out for you guys. So you want your objectives to be congruent with these words. They need to be specific, written, measurable, attainable, time-bound, cost-conscious, efficient, and mission-driven. So let me give you some quick examples. Let's say that you're either managing a company yourself that you want to run a campaign for, or you're a digital marketer and you're running a campaign for somebody else. Let's say the goal is visibility. For a comprehensive campaign, you probably want to have 4 to 5 main objectives, but they're just going to be bullet points that illustrate whether or not you made your goal. So think about it this way. You're going to be comparing your results to your objectives at the end, and that's how you're going to measure if you completed your goals. So if your goal is to have more visibility, it doesn't do you much good to just ask yourself, well, did I get more visibility? Like, okay, how are you going to measure that? Let's say right now you have 200 Instagram followers. Depending on some research that you do, what's realistic in your market and what's helpful in your market. I mean, maybe having 2,000 Instagram followers wouldn't even convert that much to sales. And if your sales is what's most important in your business, maybe Instagram doesn't directly correlate with your sales, or you're more active and present on other digital platforms that are more beneficial to you. It's a different case for everyone. You see what I'm saying? So you're a swimsuit company. You're marketing yourself primarily to women. The general target market for clothing companies, I would guess swimsuits included, especially if you're talking about trendy swimsuits, is going to be younger girls. This is stuff that you would already want to have had covered in the research. You want to know what platforms they're on, and young people, generally speaking, are more active on social media. So running an Instagram campaign specifically, or a campaign that includes Instagram and Snapchat maybe, would be a good use of your energy and your resources. Pretty obvious, but you can target your audience however narrow you wish on Facebook and Instagram. I would say more often than not, it's a matter of narrowing that audience effectively and finding out who they are than just blowing off Instagram altogether. Some campaigns, if we're talking about Facebook campaigns specifically, are more effective on a larger scale. So you want to be aware of what kind of campaign you're doing and what kind of results you're wanting to get. Maybe to help illustrate this, I'll talk about 2 main types of objectives, and I'll just call them active and result objectives. So in simplified terms, active is usually harder to carry out but easier to achieve, and results are easier to carry out but harder to achieve. For example, if our goal is visibility, an active objective might be run a Facebook ad promoting our new website, such and such date to such and such date. That's something at the end of your campaign you can check off. You can see your impressions and have a way to know that you hit X amount of people. Or you could even just take away the promoted aspect of the objective and just say that you're going to receive X amount of impressions through Facebook posting over the course of 2 months or something like that. Now, results, on the other hand, are objectives that have to do with like specific number results that aren't always direct reflections of your efforts. For example, one of your objectives might be get X amount of likes on our Facebook page, X amount of people subscribed to our email newsletter, get X amount of engagements on average. So you see, these things, it's good because they're specific numbers, they're specific results that you can mark off, but you can't guarantee it the same way that you can do like an active thing. Like you can know if I do A, B, and C, I will have this many people impressed by this. And obviously you can make efforts to, try different things and encourage people to sign up for your email, but you can't make anybody do anything, right? So they're two different kinds of objectives. I think you want to do somewhere between 3 to 5 objectives, and you want to do a mix of both. Okay, I cleaned this up. So these first 3 steps are part of the research. Our next prong is action planning. Goal and objectives are number 4. 5 includes all of these areas. So I'm going to quickly explain the gist of what these mean. So the big idea is the creative, overarching strategy and message that appeals to all publics that you will target. So we're going to be going over key publics, but basically you might be targeting several markets of people. Your big idea is your message that applies to all of them, maybe your slogan. Usually there is some kind of image or object that ties the whole thing together. Coca-Cola ran a campaign, I think just a couple years ago, where they put people's names on their Coke bottle, and it was like give it to a friend, and the symbol of the campaign was the Coke bottle. So a good time to figure out your big idea is going to be right after you have made the goal and objectives. So you generally know who you're talking to, what you want them to do, what message you want to get across, and then it's just a matter of creative thinking. This can be done in a number of ways. I typically will hold a brainstorming session with the team where we just spit out ideas and not rejecting anything for like 20 minutes, and then we'll kind of narrow it down and see if anything stuck out. We could actually do a whole lab on brainstorming and creating the big idea, but for now we're just going to leave it at coming up with the big idea. Key publics include a description of each group that must be reached to achieve the goal and objectives. So you want to have a title for who these people are, and then a brief description of answering some of the questions that we addressed in the research, where they are, what their problems are, where they get their information. And as part of this, we want to be able to answer the following questions about them. We want to identify who are the opinion leaders in the community, what are their motivating self-interests, what are the channels we can get a hold of them through. We want to know what their relationship with the organization or the issue is. We want to know if they're part of the love group. We want to know if they're part of the like group. We want to know if target people who aren't huge fans of the company and we're trying to tame their influence. And keep in mind, this is different than targeting the hate group. It's often said as a part of marketing advice that we ignore the hate group, which to a degree is true, but you want to be aware of their influence on people who are on the fence or could potentially be customers. This isn't a perfect example, but in the context of having a digital marketing agency, you want to be aware of if you're a company that might face some backlash. For example, McDonald's and other fast food often gets in trouble with organizations like PETA. If they were running a campaign, it would be wise to have them be a key public because they are a sector of people who they need to have a strategized message. The goal might not be to change their mind or make them love their product, but to keep things and their negative message about the company controlled. Another note about key publics is sometimes you have to think a little bit outside the box. For example, if you're a digital marketing agency, your answer to key public shouldn't be people who are interested in digital marketing. Okay, yeah, that's like your super overarching umbrella, but you need to know what your company's edge is as well. I know of several digital marketing companies that maybe emphasize in one sector of digital marketing. I forget her name. It's like Shannon something, but she has webinars and classes available to people aspiring to be bloggers and Instagrammers. But the skill that she teaches specifically in several of her webinars, and I don't know if this is the sole tool or the sole teaching package that she relies on or maybe markets the most, but she's talking about photo editing skills, specifically taking pictures on your iPhone and then editing them to look really good and put on Instagram. So if I was her and this is my main course, this iPhone photo edit series that I'm targeting to people, I'm not talking to people who are looking to increase SEO for their business or to get out more business newsletters to people. I mean, yeah, these might be byproducts that these mommy bloggers and such hope comes out of having better content on their page, but they are buying this course because they want to learn how to create better images and create that content, right? So what I'm saying is because of the specific nature of the course that she's offering, she's also by default narrowing her audience, and she would be wise to understand that and target those people exclusively. A small business who is looking to increase their SEO, who has a in-house photographer, doesn't want this course. An insurance company who wants better relevance levels on Google doesn't need this course. And she needs to understand that in order to market her product effectively. So if you are in the digital marketing sphere, understand what you're selling and understand your key publics as at the most narrow level as possible. Okay, so for each public that you identify, you're going to create a primary message and a secondary message. You want to keep this as simple and direct as possible. Think of it like sound bites. The primary message is the thing that you want them to believe in or take away, and the secondary message is what gives it credibility. I feel like Dove beauty products are constantly running campaigns toward middle-aged women. Their primary message to out-of-shape moms might be, I am worthy of self-love and beautiful in my own skin. And the secondary message might be a testimonial from somebody or something that adds ethos to the campaign. Okay, the last part is going to be the heaviest part of the campaign planning, strategies and tactics. Strategies, the main difference between strategies and tactics is that strategies are more generalized. So for strategies, part of your strategy at targeting such and such audience may be to employ YouTube. And your specific tactic is release a video every Tuesday on blank topic. So think of it kind of like a pyramid, that at the end you're going to have all of these different tactics, upwards to 30 of all these different little ideas and things you're going to do that all string together and lead back up to this core goal. Evaluation. Your campaign does nothing for you if you don't evaluate it and see what was working, especially in the context of if your campaign is launching a product or running, if the main activity within your campaign is running Facebook ads or, you know, something social media related. It would just be silly not to reflect, especially since Facebook summarizes a lot of your resulting data through their own software and programming. You just need to write it down and compare it to the objectives that you set for yourself. And if you are often running campaigns, keep track of this stuff. And like I said, it could be as simple as a Google Doc. Keep it somewhere so you can reflect on this later on. It's kind of like stretching after working out. Nobody really wants to do it because you're tired and you're done and you just want to go home, but it will pay off if you do. Okay, and that is the 8-step strategic communications planning matrix. And just to cite my sources, I am quoting this off of my college education at Brigham Young University, and this came from Joseph D. Ogden's textbook, Strategic Communications. This is the matrix you need to understand to have an outline for any campaign. So thanks for listening, and good luck.